They're recording.
Are they? Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. A little different meeting today. We are, first of all, we need to, I guess, per orders of things, we need to call our meeting to order. And then we're going to take care of a couple of quick pieces of business. And then we're going to turn it over to the bridge update. So that's for the first hour here or so. And then we'll pick up the security part of that meeting after the bridge meeting. So the first thing we need to do is call our meeting to order. And we need to make sure we have a quorum. And John, Brandon's on the phone. Brandon, thank you. Lori, and so we got five. We got a quorum. Is anybody else on the Zoom call except for Brandon?
Lieutenant Peters, I
don't think so. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So we need to approve the amended agenda for today, and that is to move the bridge report, and also we need to take care of a little financial business with our funding, and so that the attorneys and administrative folks downtown can hit their deadline, as I understand that this afternoon.
Yeah, they're sitting on the edge.
All right, so we want to do that first, or we want to do that before the bridge report, right?
No.
We can go straight into the bridge report. Okay, so first of all, we need a motion to approve our adjusted agenda for today. Get a motion. Motion to approve the amended agenda. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
All right, John, second. Thank you. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's move on into who is going to pick up on the bridge report.
Judy Clark.
Is Judy on? Judy, are you on?
You ready? Yeah, I'm on.
There we go.
You can hear me?
We're ready for you.
Okay.
Very well.
It is yours.
All right. Update. Not too much has happened since Friday when my last update went out, but Harbor Drive on the east lane, I guess we're calling it. The contractors completed the work on the south side, other than the paving. On the north side, which is the Harbor Drive side, the utilities put their conduit in the roadway and the fill is up to grade. The approach slab was formed and poured, the concrete and the steel. Contractors working on the steel for the moment slab, which is the concrete slab that runs down the roadway on the outside by the barrier wall base and the railing. They're going to be pouring the concrete for the slab and the wall base this Friday, the railing next week, and then paving of that lane is scheduled for the week of May 19th. So that's the update, and then they'll flip and start on the other side. The tentative completion date is in September 2025. Seaview, they've just started. The contractor, the subcontractor, I would say that the county executed a contract with General Asphalt. They are the prime contractor, and they have contracted with AEB, American Empire Builders, as their sub. So the subcontractor, at the direction of the contractor, is working to prepare. They've installed the level pad, which is the concrete pad, and the first course of the MSC wall panels on the west side of Cedar Bridge. Now they're working on the right side, on the east side. The beams, for the arch beams, are being cast as we speak in the casting yard at Tampa. They are scheduled for delivery the first week in June. So currently the contractor is working on permitting with the transporter. So that's our progress update. I can get into the questions. I was sent a list of questions if we want to go through those first. Yes?
I think yes. That's
Okay.
yeah. We have a room full of folks here that will be very interested in those questions. So,
okay, so I will go through these questions that were sent to me, and then if there's any others, we can address those.
Well, I want to also say that everybody's here, welcome to be here. I forgot that. And this is open. This is an open forum. So if anybody has any questions for Judith or anybody else, just speak up. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So first question, AEB's harbor contract defaulted. Well, the date of substantial completion was April 22nd, 2025. The county has refused to hold them liable for damage for their continued contractual failures. Why? That's not accurate. We have liquidated damage clause in our contract. They are assessed with the final payment. We're keeping track of them. And then whether or not to assess them is a management decision, which will be made at the time that, we get to that point at the end of the contract. I will say that, the contractor has had financial difficulties. They've been making, since they've resolved those or seem to have resolved them, they've been making substantial progress on harbor. They've continually committed the resources out there. So, they are being responsive. But, whether or not we retained our right to assess liquidated damages, and that hasn't changed. That will come, the decision to do that will be at the end of the contract. Substantial recommunicated completion date continues to be delayed. First it was August, now it is September. What is the real date for harbor to be opened? The current estimated date for completion and opening is September. I think I explained when we were at the homeowners meeting in January what a construction schedule is. And, that set out the major tasks. And at the beginning of a project, there's float in that contract. So you'll see, things are moving back and forth, getting pushed out. At this point, because of the delays that the contractor had early in the project because of his financial situation, the float is gone in the schedule. So we receive an updated schedule every month. And as that changes, and the changes come when, you have a concrete pour and it rains for 3 days and you can't pour concrete, or you're ready to pave your road and the paver says, I can't come for 3 weeks, scheduling and sequencing all of those operations. At this point, given that all of the float is gone in the contract, anytime there's a minor change like that, it will impact the outer date. So we report the dates in the 2-week progress meetings as we get them. So that's that. Have the additional arch beams for harbor been ordered, and do you have a delivery date? They have been ordered, they've been paid for, they have actually been cast, and they're sitting at the casting yard. I do not have a delivery date because that will be up to the contractor. When they flip to the other side, they need to demolish, put in the piles, construct the end vents, then they schedule with the transporter. So yes, the beams are there, they're ready. Like I said, they've been paid for. And as the contractor gets closer to being ready to set them, he'll set an actual date and we will communicate that. Then AEB took almost 2 years to completely finish and close out the Bimini Bridge contractor after the county said it was substantially finished. How long will you give them to finish harbor? It was actually just under a year, which is longer than it usually is. That was, again, related to the contractor's financial issues. At the point that he was finishing that up, payments were being made to the bond company, and he was dealing with his attorney and to finish that work. So I don't have the details of that delay. The bridge was open, able to be used. It stayed open longer. The contract stayed open longer than I would have liked, longer than normal, but there was not I'm not aware that there was a problem with respect to the use of it or anything. So usually it takes a couple of months between substantial completion and final completion. So that's what we would expect on harbor. Hopefully less. So Seaview questions. Can you explain how it is possible for the county to issue the new $5 million contract to finish Seaview to General Asphalt without a contractual clause eliminating AEB from being the 100% subcontractor? Yeah, we do not restrict contractors who they can use as subs. They are allowed to change subs during a contract. Sometimes they use multiple subs. That's means and methods that we don't dictate for the contractor. Our contractors with General Asphalt, they were a responsible proposer. They're the financial guarantor for the project. So that's the answer.
Judy, I have a question regarding that. Do you not have to approve the subcontractor they choose? They could choose anybody, a toilet repairman?
We don't approve their subcontractors. As I said, that's means and methods. There is a process within the county. I have not gone through it. It's a legal process. If the county decides to bar any contractor or consultant from working on county business, there's a whole legal process, and there would need to be, and I don't have the details of it. I'm not an attorney. So we did not go through that process with this contractor. I would point out that the problems that this contractor had were related to his financial situation. And as a subcontractor, he is not the financial guarantor of the project. That's General Asphalt. And they're financially sound. They have their construction performance bond.
I have a question. How do you expect to build a bridge with no more than 5 people ever working on the bridge at one time? At Seaview now, I think there's 2 guys working on that bridge. Why can't you be working on both sides at the same time instead of doing one side and going to the other? Why can't they bring in some crews? And how do you feel about them subcontracting to AEB?
Well, first
You
of
didn't
all,
find it distressful? We all find it distressful here. I mean, it's like, it smells like corruption. It's crazy. It's insane. Everyone is going nuts with that bridge.
So is there a question there for Judy?
yeah, I was asked, there were 2 people out there. Right now, the work that they can do on Seaview before the beams are placed is limited. They can only build up the first course of the MSE wall panels because there needs to be a wide enough footprint to fit the cranes in order to set the beams. So with the staff that they have out there, they will get to the stopping point at Seaview in time for the beams to be set. If you go over to Harbor, you will see that there are more than 2 people out there. They've had 2 crews of 4 out there working, tying the steel, placing the concrete, because there are multiple things that can be done at that point. As I've said and without question, the contractor has had financial difficulty. And, there are times when he hasn't had the crews out there. I mean, he defaulted on Seaview. He's now the subcontractor. You're never going to have 20 people out there. It's a small site. There's limited ability to move equipment around, to store materials, to stage materials. So, you're not going to see 20, 30 people like you see on a large construction site. But specifically to your question about the crew that is out there now on Seaview, that is the reason. There's only so much work that they can do before they set the beams, because they need the complete width of that area to park the cranes in order to do the lift to set the beams. So I have a couple more questions on this list. If you want me to continue, or if there's questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does General Asphalt have, now, isn't this Seaview contract around 8 million right now?
No, it's not. It's 4.995.
Did Monroe County get any monies from the bonding company yet?
Not yet. Our
Why not?
outside counsel filed suit, and they will be working with the bond company's attorney. It would be nice to come to a resolution without having to proceed with a lawsuit, but that is with our outside counsel at the moment.
Is the
But
bonding
as of
company-
right now, the county, as we indicated in January, the county is proceeding with county funds to finish the project.
So they don't have any money from the bonding company yet?
Nope, not yet.
Has the county gone to the state insurance board to force that insurance company or bonding company to start making payments on these bridges? Both of these, all three of the bridges for that?
No. There are payments due on Seaview only. And as I said, that is now with our outside counsel. They will be dealing with the bond company's counsel, either negotiating settlement or proceeding, with litigation.
Will liquidated damages be applied to each payment on the Harbor Bridge as payments are due?
No, as I said, per the contract, the liquidated damages will be taken from, if they are assessed, will be taken from the final payment as we proceed through the project.
How about Bimini Bridge?
Bimini Bridge is complete. It's done. The project is closed.
Did the county receive any liquidated damages on Bimini?
No, liquidated damages were not due.
Well, they were a year late, and at
No,
$3,500 liquidated damages.
No, they were not a year late.
They weren't late. Okay.
No. They reached substantial completion, which is the point at which, if they are not at substantial completion, liquidated damages could be assessed. Liquidated damages are not assessed between substantial completion and final completion.
Go ahead.
Did we lose you?
I'm here.
Okay, there we go.
Go on to the next
Go
one.
on, Judy.
I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead on.
I
Go ahead.
answered the question. So,
Next, go on to the next question.
got it. The new published Seaview project timeline calls for the bridge to be completed by January 2026. Arch precast beams will only be ready to be shipped the first week in June. Based on Harbor's beam delivery on February 11th, the first half of the bridge to be completed in May. Does the county believe the bridge will be completed on schedule? Yes, that's the schedule that the contractor gave us with their proposal. We didn't limit them to that length of time. General Asphalt said, here's our cost proposal and here's our schedule. So I have no reason to doubt them.
So Judy, it's Ron. I'm going to go back to the question because we're getting kind of very general answers. Specifically, and over all of the emails, I constantly challenge the schedule. Do you and the county believe they're going to make that date? Not that
Yes.
they gave you a date, but in 8 years, they have never made a date. So how can you stand here and say that they're going to make the date? I will pay you $1,000 if they make the date, because they're not going to.
Okay. Well, first of all, the contractor hasn't been out there 8 years, but I get your point.
The projects have been going on since the started in 2016, first public meetings in 17.
Okay,
So the
but that's,
bridge projects have been going on Duck Key. We've been living with this for 8 years.
sure. We did the design and we did the historical assessment of the bridges. You'll recall that, well, and yes, the projects have taken longer. Like we said, I mean, there were delays. Bimini, you'll remember at the beginning, we did have to extend that project because we needed to do the emergency repairs, the temporary strengthening. We had We had to give the contractor an extension for that. That's earned, that's out of their control. We had arranged to have the Aqueduct Authority put the utilities subaqueous, which had been a request from the public. We had wanted them to get that done ahead of the project, but they did not. So their contractor mobilized and spent several months out there, delayed our contractor. We give the contractor extensions. We don't penalize them for that, which is against, which is not their fault. So yeah, and on Harbor and Seaview, yes, the contractor's financial situation delayed the project. He has now resolved it, and he is not the primary contractor on Seaview. So no, I do not doubt General Asphalt's schedule that they submitted to me.
Judy, if I may add one thing.
Sure.
The minute the staff acknowledges that they look like they're running behind, that becomes part of the discussion later on. And they say, we've acknowledged a later schedule. We hold them to the schedule that they have told us. Even though you and I and Judy may have some doubts about their ability to achieve it. That's what happens in the progress meetings that Judy and her project managers have with the contractor. So when they see things falling behind their schedule, they hold them to account for that.
So Kevin, what I would add, I would just make a comment on that, is hold them accountable. In my estimation, in my history from what I just heard, they haven't been held accountable. They can give you any date, extend it as long as they want, and they don't get any penalties. They didn't on Bimini for all the suffering that we had on Bimini. They haven't, and what I'm hearing is I doubt that they're going to do anything on Harbor, and maybe whatever comes on Seaview comes. We don't know. They are working on Seaview.
Well, I have to clarify. On Bimini, they were given extensions, and they did not, for legitimate reasons, as I indicated. And then in addition to things like that, there are also weather days, et cetera, additions to the work, changes in the scope that necessitate more time. They are given days. Bimini, the extensions that they were given, they met the revised substantial completion date. So liquidated damages are not due. And as I said before, we reached substantial completion. The bridge is open, able to be used. There's no penalty between substantial completion and final completion. So we didn't waive liquidated damages on Bimini. There were none that were due.
Excuse me? On Bimini, the extras on the contract specifically says no extension of time is going to be granted to the extras. Read your contract. That's what I'm saying. Look at it. Read it. No extension of time to the extras on contract. It's right in there. I've already read it.
When the scope changes, they're given additional time.
Read your contract.
So are we ready to go on to additional questions?
Go ahead, yes.
If General Asphalt gives...
I say I have a question.
Sure.
On the Seaview project, can we assume that the bonding company on the most recent contract is different than the bonding company on the original contract?
It is. Because keep in mind, the bond that we received for Seaview, the contract is with General Asphalt. So the bond is through their company. And yes, it is a different bonding company. I'd have to look, but it is different, yes.
Could you give us that bond and the new bonding company, please?
Sure.
You don't have to do it now. You can send it.
I'll email it to Ron. Would that be okay?
Perfect.
That's fine.
Okay.
I have another question. Can we request that the county have closer supervision and demand that the workers show up?
I'm sorry,
I'll repeat, can we request that we have closer supervision by the county and that the county demand that workers show up?
Some
We have-
oversight on the project.
we have an inspector that is out there. I have a project manager that goes out daily. As I've said, there has been crews out on harbor working continuously. And on Seaview, under general asphalt, they're working, they're doing the work. There are days.
2 people will never finish that job. The 2 people you have there today can't finish that job by themselves. Exactly what.
Understood. But as I said, there's only a certain amount of work that can be done on what we call the critical path, which is the work that has to be done in sequence. There's only a certain amount that can be done before the beams are set. That's not going to happen until the first week in June.
No, later than that, because they're only going to be ready to be shipped the first week of June. So let's get the dates correct.
Well, they're ready to ship. The contractor's working on, meaning they've cured enough that they can ship.
That's good news.
It's very good news. I sometimes you wait months before you get on the casting yard schedule.
So Judy, my question was, can we request additional supervision? We're not happy with the supervision. You need some inspector to sit inside a car and not do anything, but maybe talk on the phone. I don't know what he's doing. We don't see that the county is demanding for us that the job be done on time. We have a company that has not been on time, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yep.
And 1 time walked off the job. And now we're supposed to be reassured that we're getting a bridge by January of 2026. I mean, it sounds ridiculous.
Judy, if I may,
Sure.
Do you believe that will be done by then? Do you believe the bridge will be done by then?
Yes, I believe I've stated that.
Would you put your job on the line that bridge will be done by then?
Don't be
Would you
ridiculous.
do that? Come on.
Ridiculous. No, but I would like an answer to my question, Judy. I would like an answer to additional supervision.
I'd like to answer that for you.
Oh, please.
You have been asking continuously for that, and we're giving you as much as is needed to get the job done. You may not agree with that, but if you don't think we have heard the request for additional supervision, additional attention to the contractor, we've heard it.
Well, then maybe it's additional supervision that demands. Maybe you have the supervision required, but are the demands being made? Because they're definitely not being met, the additional supervision. I can have 20 people there tomorrow that don't demand anything, and we can call them supervisors.
We can put 10 more people out there to watch the contractor. It's not going to change the pace at which construction happens.
That's true.
That's not on my
The
job.
contractor needs to put the manpower there.
That's right. So rather than continuing to harangue on Judy to do her job better or lose her job, let's move on to technical, factual questions that you'd like to have answered, if we may.
So I'd like to ask a question about the selection of General Asphalt. Did General Asphalt ever build a bridge?
I can't answer that question. I don't know the scope of their work.
Okay, I mean,
Well, then how did you
Well,
get
why
the
did
contract?
They are qualified. I should say there's a requirement. They are pre-qualified by DOT for that body of work. DOT, if you want to do work for DOT, they have requirements for different, major highway, major bridge, minor bridge, and General Asphalt holds those certifications. What bridges they've built.
I looked it up. They've never built a bridge.
At the risk.
This will be their first one. if they
At
succeed.
the risk of stepping on Judy's answer and yours, they were the most responsible bidder when we looked for additional contractors.
They were the cheapest bidder.
One of the considerations,
Yes,
certainly.
they were the lowest bidder.
In fact, they
it
were,
wasn't-
yes.
It wasn't one of the
Yes.
considerations. They were the lowest bidder. We had bids from excellent companies. Southern Bridge and Road and Bridge, or Bridge and Road, and companies that Judy, in fact, told me how wonderful they were. And we always go with the lowest bidder. The lowest bidder in a case where for 6 or 4 years, this community has been turned upside down. I mean, the lowest bidder.
We understand the distress, but the point is we were responsible to all of the taxpayers of Monroe County to select the most responsible and responsive bidder, and including price. And that's what we did.
And keep in mind, sorry to interrupt, Kevin, but keep in mind, as we explained to the Board of County Commissioners, and I've included several times in my updates when we were working on getting the bids, that the county has a duty to mitigate damages. And the duty to mitigate is a legal doctrine that refers to our obligation to minimize the damages that we are suffering. We are looking towards entering into a lawsuit with the bond company in order to get the funds that the county is owed. To decide to go with a contractor who was several $1 million higher in price and who would not have been able to start as quickly, would jeopardize the county's position with respect to any litigation because of this duty to mitigate the damages. So that was explained. Like I said, we've put that in our updates, and I've explained that several times, as has my county attorney, who explained it to me. So that's another reason. It's not like a traditional bid where we just get bids from the companies. We have to consider that, just as Kevin said. You know, we have to consider whether we're going to go with a company that is going to cost $3 or $4 million more.
Well, you also have an obligation to the taxpayers of Doug P., who have put
Yes,
up
we do.
with this not for
And your
much
bridges-
too long. Much too long.
Absolutely. Throw her out.
The original contractor defaulted. And we have a contract now with General Asphalt. And they are the guarantor of the project, and we're moving forward.
So Judy, the remaining 2 questions on Ron's sheet really relate to this kind of topic. Why don't you go ahead and address them?
Oh, the bonds, the last one, what is the status of the bond company's default on the Seaview Bridge, original contract? Like I said, we are, they're proceeding, and our outside counsel is simultaneously filing the lawsuit and trying to schedule a meeting to negotiate with the bond company's attorney. So just quickly, the difference between what the county is still holding from the original contract, the amount that was unpaid on the original contract, and the new price for General Asphalt to complete is $1,881,972. So that's the difference in the cost of construction that we'll be seeking from the bond company. There's also legal fees, and then there's liquidated damages, and all of that will be negotiated as part of the settlement. Does that answer the question?
So could I go through that? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to go through that math. So the original contract was, I don't remember the original, the second contract now is $5 million. You paid them 2.3 up front on AEB before they defaulted and walked away.
Yeah.
How does the difference only $1.8 million?
Because we have, I think the contract amount, this is off the top of my head, but it was like 5,260,000. So of that, we paid them was a 2.3. We're also holding the retainage. We don't pay out the retainage. So what remains between the retainage and the unpaid amount, you subtract that from the new cost proposal from General Asphalt, and the difference is 1.88 million. I mean, I can send you the exact figures. I don't have them written out here.
It'll be easier for her to just give you a table showing that column.
Yeah, that's.
I can do that.
That's the incremental dollars that the county is coming forward with right now.
Yeah, 1.88. Yes.
The people contracted to finish up the Seaview Bridge have never built a bridge before.
Oh, wonderful.
And they have hired a subcontractor who has experience with bridge construction. That's very common in construction.
Experience with big, that's kind of questionable, Judy.
What a question.
Bad experience with bridge construction.
Can I ask you a question? Were you surprised when you saw that the subcontractor was AEB?
I was not surprised, only because I had heard a little bit.
And could you not have opposed it in some way? Could you not have said, well, these people have already failed us 3 times. Why are we going to give them a 4th opportunity?
Okay, well, they didn't fail us 3 times. They completed the Bimini Bridge. They defaulted on Seaview.
And they defaulted on Harbor.
They have not
charging them, but well,
they're delayed.
575 days have passed by. That's when the contract read that they were 575 days and they were in default. So now you're not defaulting them because you choose not to, but they have not completed the job in 575 days.
They are delayed.
And they're in September either.
They won't complete it.
That'll be extended multiple times.
Are they the same company you hired to redo the airport, Marathon?
I don't know who that is.
You know, it's not that.
It's not my project, so I don't know.
Them on the Harbor Bridge so far.
I'm
What's
sorry.
The payment schedule to American Empire Builders on Harbor, where is that?
The payment schedule?
Yeah. How much have you paid?
Oh, I have to look that up. You know that I can get that, but you understand that we pay them for the work they've done. We don't pay them, we don't just keep paying them incrementally as time goes on. We have. You
pay them on a itemized bid, right? Correct?
Yes, for work completed, in place and completed.
I like that. Now, how about Seaview Bridge? You see, at $2.2 million, that whole lane should have been finished and open. That's half the contract. And he virtually did very little. It sounds like either he front-loaded the bid or you overpaid him for stuff he put on the job site that was never incorporated in the project.
There is an upfront, there's mobilization costs that are paid up front when they mobilize. On Seaview Bridge, there were actually 3 phases. The first phase was widening the lane. So there was construction on the south side to widen, I think it was south, to widen that lane, to eliminate the pinch point when they demolished that other lane. the lane that they're working on. So no. Half the cost is not in just the one lane. We pay them for work that they do.
But only.
We do pay them. We do pay for materials. We paid them for the MSC wall panels, the concrete wall panels that are there. We pay them the cost of them because the bid item, the unit price, includes installing them. So we will pay the contractor for those panels when they are stored on site, ready to be used. When he produces the invoice from the manufacturer, you'll pay them that amount.
Well, what happened so last summer they were paying all the balusters. And then as soon as they defaulted, all those balusters moved over to the Harbor Bridge.
We didn't pay him for the balusters. We didn't pay him for those. I checked. We did not pay him for those on Seaview. Those were owned.
Working on the Seaview Bridge, but they were pouring the balusters and not working on the bridge. And then the balusters went over to the Harbor Bridge. I mean, just.
Did you pay him for all of the materials that was sitting on Seaview Bridge that got carted away or taken away to wherever? Did you pay for any of that?
No. The contractor took what was his. I know we paid for the MSC wall panels, which are still there. And being used. He's installing them.
I'm right in the middle of it. There's some huge beams there. And whenever I told you that they left stuff there, you told me that that was because the county bought them and because maybe the next contractor will want to use them. But I think it was because AEP was the contractor coming up all along. And I don't know why, but I think AEP was scheduled to do this all along for some reason. And they're not getting it done. I mean, how can the county and how can BOCC think that this is okay? I mean, it's been in my front yard for 5 years now. Do you guys really in your hearts believe this is okay?
No, of course we don't think it's okay, but this is the reality. It's unfortunate that contractor had financial difficulties. But
more than that, it's mismanagement.
Back again.
And no oversight. No one does anything about it.
Well, you might be surprised to think half of you would have disagreed. Mismanagement on his part, probably. Lack of supervision on our part, no. I don't agree with that.
No, I just wonder how you would feel if you lived on that other side of the bridge. Are you going to give me back all the time that I wasted sitting at that light? Do you know how many times I had to make people back up because they ran the light? How many accidents were almost caused? I mean, it's like ridiculous.
We understand it's frustrating. It's a very difficult site to work on.
Well, then maybe you should have hired a better contractor.
Yeah, not the lowest bidder.
Yeah, not the lowest bid. Lowest doesn't always mean better.
No, you don't always, the county doesn't always hire the lowest bidder.
What?
No, that's right.
You're absolutely right.
So there are times when you hire the lowest bidder, and it was a time to screw the donkey and you hire the lowest bidder.
I disagree with the premise of why. But what I tell you is, we always seek the best value for the county, from the lowest priced, responsible, and responsive bidder.
That's why you hired a contractor that doesn't build bridges.
And then who is the, where's the buck stop? Who's responsible? I mean, how can we help?
The buck stops with us. We've got to get things finished.
Can you put cameras up?
Yes, because it would be lovely for you to see what we see.
Oh, come to my house.
Yes. Yeah. You know, how they sleep under the trucks, how they fish off the docks. You can see all that we enjoy.
If you want to
You
unload
should
the-
enjoy it
If you
too.
want to unload to the contractor, that's fine, but that's not going to get us anywhere today.
Okay, so I don't understand why I've gotten multiple flat tires going over the bridge, and why someone from the county isn't up there like every day checking it. I've sent many pictures and many calls, and the bridge boards are popped up all over. Again, I just came over and it's the same thing. And I can't figure out why in all my complaints, why the county is still not sending someone out there every single day to check those boards, at least so that I can drive over it safely.
We do. And the road crew,
Because I live right next to the bridge, and I go out there and the boards are popping up, and the same ones are up in the morning and in the afternoon. And so if there was someone every day, that board would be down. So there
our road crew comes down from Key Largo. Staff checks it, they call for the crew, they come down. The challenge is, there's a large house being constructed out there. There's multiple huge vehicles bringing fill over the bridge. Trucks go over.
My problem is the road is not staying flat. It's not my problem. If you want to prevent them from going over the bridge for the large house, that's up to you. And that deals with the weight limit then. That's not my problem. My problem is I want to be able to walk safely over the bridge in the meantime, ride my golf cart, which is legal, and drive my car. And right now, that's not the case. It's not safe. And ride a bike and walk. So I don't care that there's a house being built at the end. That's not my problem. My problem are those three concerns, that it's not safe right now. And my question is,
and we check it regularly, and we send a crew down anytime.
But regularly is not daily. Regularly is not daily. So you were just not honest with me when you said that, because I'm out there, I'm one house away. So, and I go over that bridge many times a day. So I need a verification that someone's going to be at that bridge every single day, checking those nails so that I can safely navigate that bridge as a walker and as a bike rider, etc.
Staff checks it. My project manager and our inspector check it. The crew that does the repairs comes from Key Largo.
Why?
So we see that because that's where our road crew is. We have staff in Key Largo and on Rockland Key.
So you have somebody that's watching the bridge, but they don't care about the rest of what's happening on the bridge. You have somebody, you just said you had somebody there every day, but not the concern of the actual bridge itself that we have to drive over.
Judy, let me suggest something. We'll commit to trying to do better at that. You can tell us all day long, you gotta do better at it. Okay, we'll commit to trying to do better at it. But she has somebody out there every day, but they're not gonna stand on the bridge.
Kevin, right?
Kevin.
I can attest that I pull those bolts up all the time.
Yeah,
They come up daily. That was my point. One truck over that bridge of a certain weight will pull up the screws. That happens, even when they are repaired.
Find something better. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
We need a better system than those plywood boards.
Some plywood boards and some screws.
Go ahead, John. John was speaking.
So the Harbor Bridge doesn't have this problem. Okay?
True.
And I can tell you that before Jason's house was being built, all those things were popping up. I trip on them. I hear people popping their tires. I pull them out. I'll unscrew them by hand every day. If you guys want to start paying me to do it, I'll go take care of that. But I am on it.
What's your price?
More than you can afford. It's not the low end. I can promise that.
Also, there's problems that the guys that are doing the work, because I talk to them every once in a while, try to get a feeling for, do they know what they're doing? And they're using concrete anchors to anchor into wood. That doesn't work. That's why those things, when they go in, that's why they come popping out and just laying on the deck. There's a bunch of them over there right now. They're just laying on the deck. They're concrete anchors. The right type of anchor, for God's sakes. They should be using some probably good 6 to 8 inch legs, and they're not doing that. And also the wood itself needs to be replaced. If you walk over it, just walk on your own, you will sit there and bounce up and down.
I have a quote. I don't know your name and I don't know your name, but after the meeting, give me your contact information. Judy will have the project manager and the inspector meet with you out there sometime in the next week and listen to what you have to say and make suggestions. And if it makes sense, and it works, we'll implement them.
I hear a lot of people with flat tires.
Okay.
You know, I hear that. And I understand that it's a heavy project going over that
I'm
bridge. I
sorry,
do.
I'm sorry, I'm talking action. If you two guys are willing to meet with them, and we figure out a better solution.
I think there'd be a lot of people, but I'm not the first
Well,
complaint.
we're not gonna do this by committee. We're not gonna have 16 people out there, but you just both said.
Yeah, John, you know I do talk to them.
Kevin, can I ask a question? Why is there not a problem on Harbor and there is a problem on Seaview? What?
That's the reason, what do you think?
I'm John.
That's John.
When John said that, that's when the bell went off and said, why don't we have the inspector and the project manager meet with John and Mike on site and explain what they see? And if there's a solution, let's just implement it. Does that make sense, Judy?
Yeah. Yeah, we've looked at different things.
Entirely different than the surface on Seaview.
Obviously.
Okay.
I'm with you 100%.
So my suggestion on, John, my suggestion on this is we have a plan that hopefully will make it better. Let's just do that and move on.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
That's my biggest gripe about it.
Once the Seaview beams are in, will the Harbor Drive Bridge maintain the same crew? Or are we gonna split the crew again?
No, I only heard the tail end of that, but there'll be different crews on the bridges. Yes.
So Harbor Drive will maintain 6 or 8 and Seaview will get 6 or 8, correct?
Dependent on the work that's going on. I'm not going to guarantee there's going to be 8 people there every day, but there will be separate crews assigned. The
We're not
work,
gonna split the 2 that's there between the 2 bridges come to
No.
the first,
no.
okay?
You know, I'm not going to say you won't see, you know, he may have 2 or 3 crews that bend the steel for the bridges. They may do some work on Harbor, and when that's done, go over to Seaview. I mean, there may be, but there will be, both projects will be staffed at adequate levels to keep the work moving.
I sort of hate to ask, but what are the plans for the Truman Bridge?
They know plan.
No, we don't have plans to replace it right now, but we do have cost proposals to do some minor repair work. I know one of the pedestals was hit, so there's some repair work that needs to be done on the railings and things like that. So we're going to get that going in the next couple months. That's just a small job. But we don't currently have a project to replace the Truman Bridge. That'll be sometime in the future. It's a different, I mean, I'm sure you all know, you live out there. It's a different configuration. So structurally, it was not in the same condition as Harbor and Seaview and Bimini.
One additional request, Judy. I know that you have to approve these extensions for rain and hurricanes that never come and all of those. Could we be a little more strict on the extensions that we allow?
Yeah, it's contractual. We allow, like you said, there's weather days for a variety of things. When the contractor, and then there's what we call change orders, you know, which is a change in the work or an unforeseen condition that couldn't have been anticipated that results in, you know, extending the work or the time it takes for the work. When the contractor submits for a change order, they have to, first of all, when they discover something, they'll give notice, oh, you know, this, I think this is out of scope, this is unforeseen. And our inspector will begin keeping track of time. If the contractor is saying, well, you know, it took me 4 extra days because, you know, the most recent one on Harbor was when we excavated and pulled out that concrete pad, there was nothing underneath. There were, you know, piles in the water. They had to do some backfill. You know, we keep track of that. The contractor submits additional cost and the number of days. And then we review it and we compare it to the schedule. We compare it to things. We don't just say, yep, okay. And we'll reduce it we'll challenge it, so it's, the answer is yes, we can be strict, and yes, we are strict. There's a process to approve those. It's not just, I need more time. Okay, here you go.
By the way, is all that kept track of in a Gantt chart or something that would show these relationships?
The contractor provides a schedule.
Okay, in what form?
Sorry, what?
It's a Gantt chart.
Did you make that updated Gantt chart available to the public? So because that would give us a better idea of when things are going to be closed, just because we're waiting on B, or one thing or the other, or we had a delay because of weather. I think that if we had that available, this is a public record. I have no idea.
I'm starting to not be able to hear.
Everybody else that's in the room, it's on the agenda for this meeting, the security board published on the agenda for this meeting. So Judith, for the various questions I get from all the fishermen in Duck Key, since the steel beams that were left or initially installed on Seaview have now been removed, when is the barge being removed? Because the only reason it's there right now is just blocking the canal. And it can't be a safety reason because they've never installed a barge at the harbor bridge.
Right. Let me check on it. Okay. I will.
I have a question. What was the answer? She's just gonna
check on it. Check on it.
And when are we gonna hear back the answer to that question?
I'll ask the question tomorrow.
Question.
And you'll hear as soon as I get an answer.
I'm surprised the Army Corps and DEC haven't made you remove that barge from under the bridge, since it's entailing the water flow to Duck Key. It's been there for what, 2 years?
Longer. Since I lived there.
Yeah. I have another question. How about the rebar, the rusty rebar coming out the bottom of the Bimini Bridge?
There was no rusted rebar coming out of the bottom of the Bimini Bridge.
Then you should go look at it.
I'll go look at
Coming
it.
out, you can see the rebar pattern in the bottom of the bridge.
Okay.
And are they going to continue to use the rusty rebar that's sitting on the side of the road?
I was going to get to
Is that being
The
taken away?
rebar is inspected. It's also cleaned, wire brushed when it's installed. But I will check the bottom of the Bimini Bridge.
I've seen the rebar going in with the rust on it. And there is probably in your boilerplate, in your spec, requires that rebar to be protected upon delivery till it's installed. And it just sits there in the rusty sea air for a year. And now you've got rust coming out the bottom of the Bimini Bridge. Could you have an inspector to look at that? Thank you.
Does using an acetylene torch on it clean the rust off of it? Because I've seen them running the rebar through under acetylene torch before they took it away from the Seaview Bridge and probably used it elsewhere.
I don't know what process they use or.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, a few years ago, before they started the Seaview Bridge project, the garbage trucks and stuff couldn't go over the Seaview Bridge because it was dangerous. Do you remember that? So they couldn't go and get the garbage or anything. And it looked better than it does now. Is the plywood safe for those big trucks to be going over?
Yeah, so the old bridge, you'll recall, the bridges get inspected by DOT's consultant, and they were deteriorating, and they implemented the weight restriction. The county then did the temporary strengthening where we put in the steel and the wood deck. That was reviewed and approved. A load rating, what we call a load rating for vehicles, is done, and it has to be submitted to DOT, which it was. before they would lift the weight restriction. So yes, it doesn't look as pretty, but it structurally is stronger than the lane that we demolished, that the weight restriction had been put on. Yeah.
How often do they inspect that? Especially now after that construction with, I mean, a dozen cement trucks lined up?
DOT does a bridge inspection every 2 years. We had our engineer of record come out. They came out a couple months ago and inspected the deck and underneath, and the contractor replaced some things, shimmed it in different ways. So yeah, we're watching it.
Well, in those few months, there's been a lot of heavy traffic on there. I would suggest that maybe, just to be on the cautious side, they should come out and inspect it again.
Okay.
Okay. I hate to interrupt this right now, but we have a deadline that we're coming up on with a vote for our budgeting that has to go down to Key West today. I appreciate everybody's proposals, everybody's discussion. Big subject for everybody. Going to be more discussions to.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Hi, this is Joe Slama. I was not able to get on the Zoom connection, but may I just have a moment to ask of two possible helping things that might help us moving forward?
Absolutely.
Okay, number one, could you possibly, I don't think there's any prescription. This is a public project. If we set up at least an email address site that you could provide us with this documentation of what the work crews are doing. I believe you have weekly field reports, right?
The contractor submits daily reports. I've been issuing biweekly progress reports based on what is discussed in our biweekly construction project meetings.
Okay, and are those available at a website that we could?
Those get
can we go to a site to find that?
Yeah.
They're on Nextdoor. They're posted on Nextdoor on a weekly basis.
Joe, they're listed in two other places. They are listed on the DuckPo website, and they are listed directly on the county's. There's a county website for all of Judith's update on Duck Key bridges. And I can send you that code, but it's linked over and it's on the landing page of the DuckPo website.
And with you as our county engineers, could you maybe? Oh, I'm sorry, I stepped on you. Go ahead.
No, Judith sends out bi-weekly. I think you're asking for more information even than the bi-weekly updates.
Yes, I mean, if we could have at least the weekly reports, which show us staffing, who's on the bridge, how many hours they worked, and that sort of thing, I think that would at least be open to all of us to see that and understand, what's going on. I believe there's daily reports from the contractors that say this happened or this machine was on site or the like. I think that would greatly help, us all to understand what's happening. The second thing I would suggest is, and I know you have limited staff there, but if we offered to do so, could we place monitoring real link cameras on the construction sites, which would show both the undersides and the top sides of the bridges? I'm willing to contribute to do it. I mean, they're solar powered, they're linked to internet, and we could all open up the site to take a look at those. And at least, more importantly, you guys could from Key West, where your offices are, or wherever else. And while you're not physically able to be there, at least we could see what movements on the bridge in real time.
Well, nothing could be posted within the construction site, obviously.
Could that be perhaps waived for this purpose? So it wouldn't get in the way of construction.
It'll be in the way, is my point.
Well, if we could put it, listen, I'm on 401 Harbor. I have a real link camera, which is on the front, and it's not in the way of your construction. And humbly, I would say, look, we the residents can handle that. I'll offer my money and services to do it. And
Yeah,
as
post it
long as we're
outside of-
outside the right of way, we could do that. And could we post that? I just, I don't believe that's an intrusion on privacy.
No,
And,
no,
the
it's
only-
not what I'm not saying it's an intrusion on privacy. It can't be within the project boundaries only because,
Fine.
a contractor will knock into it or whatever. If you posted something in your yard that was focused on the bridge, that's fine.
Okay, I'd like to talk to our bridge committee about maybe perhaps doing that, because again, I've heard the back and forth here, and it's just, with all due respect, folks, the reality is that there are long gaps of, even though you have crew on staff or crew on site, there's just a lot of nothing going on. That one lady mentioned, and I've seen it multiple times, people sitting in trucks, sleeping in trucks, doing that, and it's just, that's not work. And then my last comment is folks, you mentioned mitigation. My only, and I think everyone said this in some way or the other, mitigation involves looking forward. And the reality is you brought the same subpar bridge constructors back into this project. And with all due respect, it doesn't look to seem that anything major has been changed from when they defaulted and came off, other than you're keeping them on. It was going to be the same old, same old. And our fear is that, I think I speak for everybody, is that this next $5 million later, we're still not going to be done. And what's to keep the same process from happening? I mean, let's call it what it is. Contracts were issued, money was set, projects were supposed to be done within budget. It's not happened. And the ultimate irony is that we have yet the very same company out there with the same people, and it looks like the same practices and procedures are going to be just dogging us for the next months and perhaps years. We appreciate your enthusiasm, your optimism, but we're the ones living with this reality. So that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Am I able to jump in and just make one comment? Because I just feel like somebody needs to present this. And again, I missed the beginning of the meeting as well because I couldn't get onto the Zoom. But for me, yes, we're all inconvenienced, flat tires, all of that stuff, everything we've gone through over the years. But my biggest concern is the safety of pedestrians and the running of red lights. I have been met with first responders coming over the red light and not being able to hear them in a gas golf cart, having to back down the bridge. You can't make it over that in a light cycle when you're walking. Me and my dogs are tucked up against the side because you can't make it. Or you're running down the edge of the bridge trying to make that light cycle. Not everybody can run over the bridge, and it is a safety concern. And I'm racking my brain to kind of think of, how do we mitigate that? Do we put the big corner mirrors where you can see what's on the other side? Something, because at some point when somebody gets hurt, injured, or killed, it's really going to present itself as a problem. And I would like to prevent that from happening, because there's been a lot of close calls on that bridges, on Seaview or Westview, or excuse me, Seaview in particular, because that's when we walk over all the time.
I know that there were some issues with people going, and we've since closed off the road entirely. And I think it was Seaview Circle, rather than approaching the bridge by the light, they were coming around and taking a right onto the bridge. So we've closed that off to eliminate that. I don't have a solution to people running red lights. I honestly don't. I mean, that's a different issue. I hear what you're saying. Early on in the project with Bimini, there was discussion about, extending the light cycle so that it's long enough for people to walk and this and that and stop. And the problem is, if you extend the light cycle too long, people then do run it. So there's a balance,
Well, maybe we could double up. You got a project manager that oversees the bridge and how fast it's going. Just like in the beginning, we used to have people standing there monitoring weight limits. Maybe somebody monitors and makes sure that if there's a pedestrian over, a car doesn't go, and they can see that they're on the other side. I mean, I know it's a big ask, but at some point I'm just trying to throw out ideas for solutions, because, the last thing I want to do is see one of my friends or neighbors get hurt or injured because of that. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. I think there's much more needs to be addressed and discussed, and I think this is a good forum. And I think the county and the owners on Duck Key need to continue these conversations. And we'll be talking a little bit later on about how do we formulate that and how do we put that on the beginning of the Security Advisory Board. Do we put it somewhere else? But that's continuing to be there, continuing to discuss. So I appreciate everybody's input. And we've got a piece of business to move to. If we can close this part of the discussion, I don't want to cut anybody off, but we've got a lot of information for Judith and the county to bring to us. Ron, I assume you're going to be a point for that at some point with some of this information.
Unless somebody else wants to take the point. I've been doing this for 7 years now.
I think you're doing a great job. Man. You really are. I don't want to change that. So we'll do that. We'll be looking for that point and some other things maybe happening from here as well. So if we could go, and everybody's welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of our meeting. Certainly, be a part of the rest of our meeting. We have a budget to approve really quickly here. We talked about it in the last meeting. The budget proposal for the advisory board, and the folks downtown got to get it to Key West here yet this afternoon. Yeah, item D. We're going to item D on the new business. Are you there? Yeah. Somebody make the motion where we talked about the last meeting to approve the budget as it was last year. We didn't add anything to it.
Are we gonna add that camera that we were talking about?
That's different piece of information.
Different subjects. What we're talking about is the law
It's D on
assessment
the
rates
agenda.
for next year.
Yeah,
We're talking about the law assessment rates that build our revenue.
where we get our budget
And
from
that
those rates.
stays the same from year to year because we've hit our max. So there's really, what we're doing is voting to approve that it stay the same.
292 per.
Put the motion. You went out. We're looking for a motion in a second here. So you want a good team.
Yes.
Okay.
So John, did you make, you did it, I can't hear you, so.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
And who you can, okay.
Okay.
So you got it now.
So just to clarify, 292 for improved lots, $28 for unimproved lots.
Yeah.
Keeping it the same as
Same
last
as
year.
it was.
Yes.
That's what was approved. Yes.
I think we kept it the same as last.
Yeah,
Can't go any higher.
Because there's a huge process to raise it, you know, you gotta raise it $8.
Do we need it for the
$2,
bridge fund?
You know, huh?
Do we need it for the bridge fund?
No.
No.
Is that too soon?
No. That's not us. We don't do that.
I like it later, right?
Just for the record, we did not.
Did we not? All right.
We might have missed it.
All right.
We did.
Let's back up
Pick that
again.
up.
It's a little bit different meeting. We had the meetings from minutes from the last meeting. We have to approve. And that the meeting, the
March
March
4th.
4th meeting, the minutes that were published. And we have a motion to accept those or make any amendments to those.
I'll make the motion to accept it.
I'll second. There you go.
Okay. The John and
You
Ken
guys
show.
getting overtime.
Okay.
All right, so
Great.
minutes are done. We're
Okay.
caught up then. We're caught up with that. Bridge update. And you gentlemen have sat here patiently. And there was a reason you were here, I think. Anyway, our Sheriff's Department update. Thank you guys for being here. And we have some updates from the
Spring break's over. Spring break's over.
spring break's over. Well, I think you feel that a
I think
little
we
bit.
made through it all right. I know that Lieutenant has gone over some of the speed data, so I'll turn it over to him.
Okay.
How's everyone
Yeah,
going? So on Bimini South, there was a reduction in violation rates, went from 11.7% to 9.3, so a small reduction, but a reduction. On West Seaview, there was an increase from 8.25% to 9.7. Just to give you an idea, that's out of 14,400 vehicles. There was about 1,400 violations. And that's anywhere from 21 to 23 miles an hour is about the average max speed.
From the 10 miles an hour that's posted on the
Correct.
bridge. Okay.
Right. So if one car goes 30, it's gonna up that.
Yeah.
So, and then on East Seaview, it stayed about the same from 5.2% to 5.7%. And there's a lot more traffic. It's just on Bimini South, there was 23,000 vehicles, and then with 2,000 speed violations. So there's a lot of vehicles, spring break and everything.
That was also in the spring break.
Correct.
Right, okay.
So any top speed of 35 is going to up that. So I think there is progress on there. And then we know the times on Bimini is 10 a.m. and then 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. West Seaview is 5 p.m. and then East Seaview is 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's the other than that, it's a pretty steady speed.
It's gotten better, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
I walk every day, so I mean,
yeah, because one high speed will throw it all off. So
just seeing it, I mean, it's slowed down.
And other than that, no calls for service. There was a verbal disturbance. This was from the last meeting. That was just a verbal argument and parking lot accident, and that's pretty much it. Everything else has been quiet. So.
And are you guys still patrolling? I haven't been here for a couple of weeks, but I haven't seen anything.
Yes, they're still patrolling. I just looked through everything today. There's quite a bit. We were here with the sheriff the other day. We had our bike officer all the way in the back riding, and he was all sweating out of breath. It's hot out there. As we pulled up here, it was an officer out front. So yeah, they're still heavily out here. We keep it updates on top of that as well.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for that. Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay. We got three lines.
He was on earlier.
Is Louis on? It was earlier.
Yes, I'm here.
There we go. Thank you, sir, for your patience today.
No problem. I don't have much to report, but I wanted to be here in case anybody had any questions for me. But things have been fairly quiet. Not too much incidents or anything like that was been reported. The new vehicle for security that I had asked for at the beginning of the year, that was pushed until July, and it hasn't been approved, but we're revisiting in July. So I'm still trying to get them something new and also that's a little off the ground. And also the only other thing that I have is that at the end of July, we have lobster season. And normally we've been putting somebody during the day to patrol the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys want to do that this year or not. So that's something I have for you guys, and let me know so I can staff it properly.
We'll have to, and when do you need to know that?
Oh, at the beginning of July. At the beginning of July. It doesn't have to be right now. But, I do have to staff somebody that will be working during the day, that Thursday and Friday. Wednesday and Thursday. I'm sorry. Wednesday and Thursday, the 30th and 31st.
Louis, I'll put that on the next agenda.
Okay.
The next meeting is July 1st, so that gives you enough time?
Perfect. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you. Any questions for Raylon or anything? Questions for them?
No, we have
some.
Mr. Cooper.
Is gentleman sitting in the back?
Yeah.
All right.
Come back to give our.
Excellent. We have a Hawks K report coming up.
Reggie Cooper.
Gentlemen back here to introduce themselves.
Everyone, how are you? I'm Reggie Cooper. I'm the managing director.
Welcome.
Come on up.
Hawks K. And then Fred is with me. Fred's in charge of engineering, facilities, and security. So glad to meet some new people that I've spoken to on the phone and put a face together with it. And happy to be a good neighbor. Anything we can do to help, please let us know.
Welcome. Glad to see you
That's
here.
terrific. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate being.
Frank, are you going to attend our meetings regularly to give an update for us, or?
Fred will be the
One of the staff, yeah, okay. So we'll send you a meeting announcement and
Any, you guys got any updates we might be interested in, like
Yeah, so-
changes?
Yeah, a couple pieces, we continue to do work inside the resort here. So you see the Salt Nash restaurant that we opened in February. It's doing very well, thanks to folks who joined us for that. The happy hour menu at 4 o'clock, so if you can wrap this up, we can catch some tail into that while you're here. Otherwise, we have room renovations going on within the property, so we're doing a different floor every week to upgrade those, refresh those. Big project with the villas, so we set a standard for the villas to reach a certain level of finish. And so of the 190 that are part of the program, we have about 180 of them that are have either completed, are in the process, or will be doing a complete refresh and furniture package within those units. So that's quite a big undertaking for us. At the marina, we wrapped up the south wall with all the slips being replaced, so new pilings, new e-pay wood docks, and fingers. Now we're moving across doing the seawall in front of the marina store and Angler and Ash that will be going on in the next few weeks, including in September. There was a question about Coral Cay, which is our community, the kids play area that we have at the resort. So we're excited that we have a water slide that's going in adjacent to the pool area, and then the Hawks, SS Hawk, that's been sort of in that water for a long time, is going to be replaced with a more modern sort of bucket brigade dump with the different little slides for kids. Not as many splinters coming up for that for the young ones. So we're going to start on that in June, and that'll be done for probably the December timeframe for us. Yeah, those are the main projects. So we've got a couple of big things that we're trying to sort of knock down and re-energize as part of the resort.
What about the tennis center? Anything happening over there these days?
We did a renovation to add an event space over there. I want to run the court where one of the courts are. There's been some resurfacing and refinishing. So the Drysdale doing the tennis program.
Can Ducky residents pay and take tennis lessons there?
Yeah, there are people who do that. I don't know the specifics of that, but I know people who are doing that. So that's good. Great. So yeah, we continue to need some money here at the resort. We are looking to do more sort of activation of that marina area. So some folks came out last weekend for the grouper opener that we had. That was just to kick off the season and have some people into the area, and a lot of folks from Becky were in there on Friday and Saturday. When we get to December, we've got a series of events that we'll be doing, working on a center console boat show that will take place in the marina and up through this space. It will be a three-day event. There's a lot of big boat companies coming in, probably over 100 different boats that'll be part of that show. So
3 days, you're saying? Huh?
Yeah, right on. So it's going to be a good one. Yeah, with sea trials going on as well. And so
that's December, you said?
December, yeah, 5th through 7th. And then we'll be working on the December programming with the boat lights and parades and things like that through the island the following weekend. So look forward to sending more information out to you all.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
I know we're welcome to eat at Salt Nash, Angler, and Dale. Are we welcome to enjoy the TV bar also?
No, we're trying to really contain what's sort of the other side of that wall, where the pool is. One, just the people who are doing Airbnbs, rentals in the village, set up for the owners that are part of our program, guests that are getting in those units using the facilities. So for right now, that's not, but in the future we may figure out some way to let folks come and use PLR or DP, but restricted some of these different things, the water, the pool and fitness, that area, for people for that program.
Thank you.
Fred, thank you for coming, Mr. Cooper.
All right. Okay, next on the agenda was some old business with technology update. Frank, you got any camera information for us or update on that? Anything going on there?
Not too much. I did have, the Seabrew cameras went offline for a few days, and tried rebooting them a couple times and to no avail. And I eventually found that the actual cable, I got knocked down probably from the construction. And so I ended up having to call Comcast, and they came out and picked it back up, and everything's back online again. A couple of the cameras are looking pretty bad. I don't know if it's just dirt on the lenses. They supposedly came out and cleaned them earlier in the year, but it didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. So I'm going to be speaking to them a little bit more to see whether we need to, update the cameras. A couple of them, it's basically the Truman 2 camera is the worst, which has always been the worst. But anyway, everything else is working pretty well. The radars are all up and running. I had to do a special trip to test those out, but don't drive that way anymore. But everything's good.
If you do get information that the cameras do need to be replaced, let us know ahead of time when you know, so we put it on the agenda to discuss.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna take a little while to get that stuff done, so it's not be out.
And this is something that we need to put in our capital projects expenditures this year. I don't know.
That's what we're talking about. I think.
Right.
How old are those cameras, Frank? You know?
There were some of them were installed in 2021.
Okay. They've gone through some storms. Huh?
Yeah.
And construction.
Yeah,
a lot of.
Yeah. Okay. That may be time to.
Most of them are still pretty good, but a couple of them were problematic.
Okay. All right. Let's add that into the capital piece.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we had talked about we talked about coming up here on capital expenditures as far as new business. That's part of that. We have anything?
Excuse me, can I jump in?
So that.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello, it's Lieutenant Peterson, Florida Fish and Wildlife. I just wanted to chime in and see if anybody had any questions or anything I can add.
Oh, excellent, excellent. All right. Well, sorry about that. Didn't mean to keep you waiting there. We missed you. Yes,
okay.
give us a quick update. Sorry about that. Quick update. What's going on?
That's okay. Just real quick, my name's Josh Peters. I was born and raised in Key West. I've been down here for 6 years, and everything's going good with FWC. We got other officers down throughout the state trying to help us out with our staffing shortages. Everyone's getting back on the boat and getting on the water. I don't know if everyone's noticed that summer's here. Everyone's getting back on the boat, and we're already starting to see the accidents uptick. Had a couple accidents over the weekend. So as you're starting to get your boating back going and getting ready to get on the water, just do your safety check and just give yourself a little friendly reminder on safety, because Memorial Day is coming, and it's one of the worst boating accident days of the year for us. So just please, safety first. And had a couple big grounding events off of Cudjoe and some good resource cases that were made down at the Tortugas. And then there are Western Sand boats for the sanctuary cases. So those should be coming up in the paper for you guys to see shortly.
Okay.
We need your contact details.
Can you shoot your contact information to us sometime? Let's see. Do we have an email on that or to Tamara? Do you have Tamara's contact information through the county?
I don't know that he does. Brian Sapp does. So.
I'll give it to him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll get your contact information. I can email you
it's
directly.
Just Joshua. Yes, ma'am. It's Joshua.Peters at myfwc.com. Then my cell phone is 305-684-8701.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the call.
I'm not gonna talk about derelict vessels, but they always seem to come up. So does anyone have any questions about what's going on with derelict vessels?
No.
Not this time.
Okay, perfect. I hate them. So perfect.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yes, take care.
All right, take care. All right. Now we've got the next on the agenda is our radar system we talked about last time with you guys. Or the coupling of the, I think that's what that is, right? Coupling connection to the sheriff's department license plate readers, and we kind of had a miscue with the presentation last time. And where do we stand on that?
We need to discuss them both.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see a number on it.
So I don't know.
I think it was what, 2,500?
Per camera.
It's 25 per camera. There was a quote attached with information we got on Insight. And so I had a question on that because I can share it with you, Ken. But the quote we got is for 2 cameras. So my question is, we had discussed previously at the other meeting that we would put the camera on Truman Bridge because you really need it at the entrance of Duck Key, so it would provide service, so to speak, for the entire island, not putting it on Bimini, because then you would not be protecting or giving additional protection to Center Island. So my question is, based on the quote they gave us, they're quoting us for 2 cameras. Do we need 2 cameras? Do you have to have a camera coming in and a camera going out? Or would it function with just 1 camera?
So a camera coming in would be great for sure, because it would
Right.
show every single car.
Right.
If you're coming in here, anywhere you go in Duck Key.
Right.
I mean, there's benefits to more cameras because it'll show times coming out or farther down if they went that far or a vehicle went that far. But 1 camera